Staying sober with Papa Joey. It's all about your sobriety.
Welcome back. Today's podcast is going to be a little different. I just got home a little while ago checking my emails, and there was one email, and basically somebody was asking me, hey, what's the easiest way to get sober and to stay sober? And normally before I do any of my podcasts, I'll think of a topic I want to do or talk about. I'll jot down some notes, and then I'll try to organize it in a way where it's easy for me to speak about the topic, and then I'll shoot it. Today I'm just going to let the camera roll, and I'll tell you what I believe is the easiest way to get sober, because I've had people ask me that for, I've been sober 31 years, so I could say honestly, I've had people ask me that question for probably the last 25 years, 26 years. People that I've met out or that I've known that I had stopped drinking even early on, they would say, hey, what would be the easiest way for somebody to quit drinking? Or I've got a problem, so what's the easiest way for me to, to handle this situation? And it's what I've always said, the easiest way to do it, of course, and the only way to do it is if you don't put a drink or a drug in you, right? My favorite saying is don't drink or use no matter what. And no matter what means no matter what. Because I don't care how you do it. The only way anything works is if you don't put a drink or a drug in. Period, end of story. So now let's talk about what's the easiest way. Well, I don't think there's an easy way to do it, but you have to make it easy for yourself. And what I mean by that is, and again, I've shared this in different podcasts, for me, I made it easy. I understood early on that I was going to not drink, and I knew I was done drinking because of what was going on, in my life prior to my finale of drinking. I knew I was done. But early on, I just said, I'm not going to drink for today. I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I'm not going to drink for today. So I made it that easy because I knew I could do something, anything just for one day, right? So one day became a week, and a week became a month, and a month became 2 months. Next thing I know, it was 6 months, then I had a year. So little by little, I got some time under my belt. But early on, I just decided I was going to make it extremely easy. I wasn't going to drink. And at that time, I was going to AA meetings. And I kept going only because I met some nice people. I've shared all this before. And I didn't know anybody in town at the time. So it was a place to hang out. I wasn't going to a bar or anything, so it was fine. Some of the conversations were good too. As far as the 12 steps, I can't say that would be the easy way for somebody to get sober, or going to AA if that's the easy way. Because as I shared before, there were many people that I knew that went to AA, I'm not knocking AA, and did the 12 steps and went to the meetings and had a sponsor and did all that stuff. And they chose to drink once again. After, years of being sober, they went out and drank again. And a few, of course, they would come in, hang out for 2 or 3 months, and then they, see them for a little while, and they went back out drinking. But that was their business. I made my sobriety my business, nobody else's. And I think that's one of the easiest ways for somebody to get sober, is to basically worry about yourself and not what everybody else is doing. I knew people that went to church and got sober, with the church. And that's kind of tough to say they got sober with the church. Basically what they did was they said, hey, listen, I'm done. I can't live like this. My life's a mess. And if you follow the teachings of Christ, if you're a Christian or whatever, one of the things they teach is you don't want to be a drunkard, right? You're not going to be a drunk. So you remove the alcohol in your life. And then, of course, there's other changes you make in your life. But that's how some people did it with the church. Some were very successful. Others chose to drink again. See, what happens is once somebody gets sober, right, and they're thinking a little clearer, then you still have choices you have to make in your life. For me, one of the choices that I've always made for my life, and particularly a good choice for myself, was no matter what happens in my life, and I've had some bad things happen, just like a lot of people, I didn't put a drink in me. That's number one. I don't drink. Okay, so whatever goes on, I just don't put alcohol in it. And that works for me. Other things, I might have to, handle a situation differently. Sometimes I'm handling them correctly, sometimes I don't, meaning maybe I get upset, maybe I say things I shouldn't say, maybe I just walk away when I shouldn't have walked away. Every time if I look back on certain issues I had in my life, just like a lot of people, you always think, man, I could have handled that differently, right? But for me, the first thing that I've always done in any situation was I realized, drinking's not an option, and then I just do what the next best thing. I think a lot of times it's hard for people to stay sober, from drugs or alcohol as well, is because they're always thinking that there's something they need to do, and there's always people watching them, right? Because the minute you tell somebody, I'm getting sober, I'm not going to drink anymore, I'm not going to drug anymore, and then you have the people that you drank with or drugged with, they're going to be, wondering about you. A lot of them are going to think, you can't do it. Maybe put a little pressure on you not to do it. Because if you tell somebody, especially if you drink with them or use with them, that you're done, that forces them sometimes to look at themselves. And people don't like doing that, right? So I know when I quit drinking, luckily a lot of my friends were up north. I got sober in Florida where I live now. Most of my, drinking friends and everything are in upstate New York. But once I got sober and they found out, when I go up to visit them, it was never a big deal. I mean, most of them would say, hey, good for you. And then it was never like, oh, come on, Joe, just have one. Just like the old days, they were just like, hey, man, that's cool. And, we'd go out, listen to music or, play music or whatever. So I was fortunate like that. But I do know that there's, people that worry too much about what other people think about their decision not to drink or drug. So that can make it really difficult. So what I always say is, excuse the language, just fuck them. Okay? It's none of their damn business. If you want to get sober, do it for yourself. I've always said that because if you try to get sober for anybody else besides yourself, most of the time it doesn't work out too well. Eventually, the people that I know have done that ended up picking up again. So it's not a good idea to, get sober for other people, or you're only getting sober so you can maybe get a certain job or a certain person or whatever. So you should get sober because you want to get sober. That'll make it a lot easier because nobody wants to give up something that they still want. That's what makes it difficult, in my opinion. When I got to the point where I said I was done, man, alcohol kicked my ass time and time again. When I said I was done, I was done. I just knew it. I just felt something inside when I looked in the mirror that one morning after my last drunk, when I said, "You're done," I just felt that I was done. It's hard to explain, and I know other people have, shared the same thing. When they think they hit rock bottom, something just clicked, and they said, "I'm done." It's like a person who's overweight, and they've known they've been overweight for years, and one day they just look at themselves in the mirror and see what's happened to that body, and they finally say, "I've got to do something about it." And that's when everything kicks into gear, and you start doing whatever you have to do in order to achieve whatever goal it is you want to achieve. If you're overweight, well, you got to cut your calories down, you got to move a little, and you got to continually watch what you put in your system. Well, when it comes to getting sober, it's the same thing. We've got to watch what we put in our system and what we put in our mind. Now, I've got a podcast that I did before that where it says I hate the word alcoholic and addict. I don't like when people refer to themselves as an alcoholic or an addict, especially if they're no longer using, drinking or using. I don't think that, is wise for people to keep referring to themselves as an alcoholic or an addict, just because of the negative connotations that go along with it. But if a person wants to do it, that's fine. I just choose not to. Also, for me to make it easy for myself, I had to understand that whatever I was doing, especially early on, was really good for me. Not anybody else, but it did benefit other people, but it was really good for me. And the more time that I got in sobriety, the better I felt about myself. Again, there's other issues that were going on in my life, but being sober helped me get through some of those issues. Even if I didn't get through them what I would have felt like was the right way, I just knew if I put alcohol in me during any of those times, that the outcome would have been a lot worse. So, this whole easy concept of getting sober and staying sober, you make it as easy or as difficult as you want to. And I truly believe that sobriety can be achieved easily if you have the right mindset. And the right mindset has to be that you want to get sober, that you've had enough of what was going on in your life prior to whenever you're making your decision to do it. And then you move forward daily, doing whatever you have to do to maintain your sobriety. If you decide you're going to go to AA, or if you're in AA now, you keep going. If it works for you. Church works for you, go to church. Read the Bible if that works for you. If you just white knuckle it, and if you're the type of person that says, "Man, I got this, I got it, I'm good, I don't think about drinking anymore, everything else is fine," perfect. Like I said, there's no one way to get sober. I personally think, that there are too many people out there trying to profit from people who abuse alcohol or abuse drugs. And, some of them are in the medical community, of course. And, they can capitalize on people that, may abuse alcohol or drugs by just saying, "Hey, every week I need you to come and see me. Every week you and I've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do." They try to put that fear inside of them, which to me is the worst way to try to get sober, living in fear all the time. And I know a lot of times some of the medical people use that fear. And the courts do it as well, right? You got to take, if you get in trouble with the law, and you got a DUI or whatever, you got drug problems, and you've got to go check in with counselors all the time. And of course, they're going to want to test you, pee test you all the time. So it's a lot of stress on you. But again, some of the times we got to accept the responsibility for what we did to ourselves, and we put ourselves in that situation. So if there are issues like that come up, you got to deal with them. I don't think that the court system has their shit together when it comes to people who abuse alcohol or drugs. I can't tell you how many AA meetings that I was in where somebody would come in from the court system, and they would have a sheet of paper and say, hey, who can I get to sign this paper? I got to show the courts that I was here. And if I was there, I would just sign it. And if they want to stay, fine. If they don't, they can leave. And I didn't care if they stayed or not. It wasn't any of my business. I found out that the people that did stay, they wanted to figure out what was going on. Other people, they just said, okay, thanks, and they left. Again, none of my business. Make your sobriety, I guess what I'm trying to say, is about you, and make it as easy as you can for yourself. But again, the only thing that works, I can't stress it enough, is you don't put a drink in you, and you don't put a drug in you. That's it. I'm telling you this right off the bat, there are no secret words out there. There's no secret story out there. I've said before, the only story that'll keep you sober is your own story. Because the only story that keeps me sober is my own story. I don't care how many steps you do. I don't care where you go and they give you workbooks to fill out. I don't care how many times you go see a shrink or you go see your doctor. I don't give a damn about any of that. The only thing that's going to make you stay sober is that you realize that you shouldn't put alcohol or drugs in you. And if you do, you also have to understand that you are the one responsible for when the shit hits the fan. You've got nobody to blame but yourself. And if you want to pick up and go back out and use again, that's totally up to you. And sometimes when I've said that before to people, and if we weren't maybe in the rooms of AA years ago, because I felt that way a long time ago, where I'd see people coming back and forth, same people, same thing, the same story. Finally, I'd say, dude, what are you doing? Why do you keep coming back? Every 2 months you're here, then you're going to get sober, then you go back out, in and out, make up your mind. Well, you can't talk like that, Joey. That's not right. You got to be loving and caring. I'm like, finally, somebody's got to tell the person, either shit or get off the pot, right? You want to stay sober? Here's what you do. Don't drink, don't drug, end of stories. Make some changes in your life. If you're wherever you're going, if they're suggesting for you to do something, then do it. And do it because you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, then chances are you're not going to stay sober. That's the simple part. Staying sober is easy. Getting sober is easy. Thinking the right way at times can be a little difficult, but if you always remember, don't drink or use no matter what. No matter what means no matter what. Then I promise you won't pick up a drink or a drug again. That's going to haunt you. Every time you're thinking about it, you're going to hear, good old Papa Joey going, don't drink or use no matter what. And no matter what means no matter what. And if you do, it's all on you. And that's it. So the easiest way, I guess, to get sober is you don't drink, you don't drug, and you do whatever you have to do to keep yourself sober. Make it enjoyable, make it fun, You can go online and you can go online and check out all the the stuff that's online. But ultimately, it just comes down to you and only you, because you're not going to have a babysitter with you 24/7. And if that's what you think you need, you got more problems than drinking and drugging, in my opinion. All right, we all sooner or later have to man up or woman up and go, okay, it's on me. And there are people out there that'll help you. There's organizations that'll help if you need the help. But you got to go ask for it. And when they give it to you, you got to accept it and do what they suggest, at least early on. Because once you're sober for any length of time, then, in my opinion, everything is up to you. I mean, your sobriety is all based on you. So I think I'm going to end it right here. I'm sorry for jumping around back and forth, but I figured that would be the easiest way to put out what I think would be the easiest way to get sober. Now, feel free to comment below how you think would be the easiest way for somebody to get sober. I'd like to hear what other people have to say. And to me, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just, somebody's opinion. So until the next time, I'll see you later. And remember, don't drink or use no matter what. And no matter what means no matter what. Take care.
Think about your serenity. Be grateful for your sobriety. Staying sober with Papa Joe.